in case it isn't completely obvious, I just want to go on record as saying how much I really enjoy working with steel and what a great material it is for, particularly for jewelry, but also for sculptures and other artistic applications. In this demo, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the practical aspects of working with steel. Things like where do you purchase it, what are you looking for, and also some of the tools and techniques that I use. Probably the first question people ask me is, where do I buy it and what do I ask for? It's available at any place that sells non-precious metals, a supplier, an industrial metal supplier. And there are many of them across the country. In fact, you may have one in your area. If you do, it's probably your best bet, because then you can go in there and look at the metal in person. I'm really fortunate here that I have a company called Industrial Metal Supply, and I love going in there. They have shelves and shelves and stacks of steel in many different forms, so it's just really fun. What you want to order, and this is in your handout, is mild cold rolled steel, low carbon steel. One of the reasons I love this material to work with is that, first of all, it's very formable. You think of steel and you think it would be impossible to bend it, but it's quite formable. Also, it's malleable, meaning that it can be deformed with a hammer or bent and it won't break. And it's also very ductile. It's also ductile, meaning you can thin it out, although it's not as easy to thin out as non-ferrous metals. You might even be able to find it in some hardware stores, although the problem with that is they may not have the gauge you want. Online resources are really good. Online Metals is good. Speedy Metals is good. McMaster-Carr is good. Their websites can be a little bit complicated to use, so you might even want to give them a call. The first thing you look for, once you've identified the proper type of metal, is the gauge that you want to work with. You'll see that this gauge is a little bit thicker than these other ones. I bought this thick piece actually to create rolling mill pattern plates through the etching process. And if I take my caliper, I'm going to measure it in inches, because that is the most standard way that you will find. If I measure it, it's 0.105 inches. And if I check my sheet, I see that that is about a 12 gauge. This one is much thinner. And if I measure this one, it is 0.03, 0.0304, which makes it a 20 gauge. And 20 gauge is pretty much my favorite to work with. I kind of go back and forth between 20 and 18 gauge, and even 24 gauge if I want to make a really light piece like earrings. The thinnest I have found it is 26 gauge. The neat thing about it is it's very lightweight, so you can go a heavier gauge and still create really lightweight pieces. When you get it, it's likely to feel a little oily. It's usually coated with oil to protect it against rust, and then it's got dirt and probably a little bit of metal dust on it. Don't worry about it. In fact, I used to be just fastidious about getting my metal clean when I got it home. But it's not important until you start thinking about applying a surface treatment to it. You can just leave it, kind of oily and dirty. And then when you get ready to fuse to it or solder it or do something like that, then you'll want to get it clean. In addition to sheet, you can also purchase these wonderful perforated steel sheets with all kinds of different patterns to them. The most common are the circles. These are some big ones, and here's some smaller ones. And the squares are pretty common too. I find these to be the most useful. And then a slotted pattern here, and then this one is called expanded steel. And the way it's made, it's actually sliced across here, and then it's pulled apart on an expander. And this is a big one, but it comes in a little tiny one also. It has a lot of really good uses. Sourcing perforated steel can be a bit of a problem. I haven't found a lot of vendors that carry a lot of it. As I said, the Circle is kind of the most common one. McMaster-Carr has this. The other thing is when you order it, notice that these holes are different sizes. You'll want to order it according to the size of the hole and then the size of the solid area. Also, they come in kind of different patterns. This is a staggered circle pattern, but you could also get them in even patterns. So there's just a ton of them to work with. In addition to perforated steel, you can also purchase steel, low carbon steel wire. It's referred to as black annealed wire. Sometimes it's called rebar wire. It's got lots of different names. Dark annealed wire, low carbon wire. It's coated with an oil that is to help prevent it against oxidation and rust. Comes in so many different gauges. This one, I believe, is about an 18 gauge. This is a 16 gauge. This, I think, is really big. I think that's actually about a 6 gauge, and this works perfectly for bangles.
Hi, this is Bet Barnett. Thank you so much for watching my intro video. If you're interested in more information, please visit my website at studiomigoto.com and take a look at my steel jewelry online learning series. Thank you.